Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
And welcome back into the Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I am your host, Matthew Zator, again, joined by my prospect experts here at the Hockey Writers, Greg Boysen and Peter Baracchini. We're also joined in by someone you haven't seen since last year. Before Prospect Corner became an actual show, we had the Rankers. And Andrew, you're back. How's it going?
I'm back, boys, and excited to be here with you guys. You guys always do a great job, and happy to be talking prospects.
Yeah, so of course we have him on because he just dropped his latest or first rankings for the 2022 draft. So just like we did with Peter last week, we're going to do it the same thing with Andrew's rankings, his first set. And let's just dive right in here. Andrew, give us your top five that you have on your first rankings. I'm sure these will change, but who's your top five right now?
Well, I think to everyone's surprise, I've got Shane Wright going first, Matty Savoie going second, Logan Cooley third, and Joakim Kamel fourth, and then Danila Yurov fifth.
It's a nice set. Greg, we'll start with you on this. What do you think about Andrew's first five there?
I don't like the nitpick, but I would definitely have Simon Nemec up in that top five. I'd probably put Cooley maybe 2 or 3, and Cooley and Nemec are my second and third, and maybe drop Yurov out of the top five for some. As I briefly mentioned last week, I'm not something about him just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know, but yeah, I other than that, I mean, again, as we talked last week, what's really the big difference between 3 and 7 and 8 at this point? They're all really talented, so we're kind of nitpicking who goes where, but I would definitely have Simon Nemec up there in that top five.
Peter, you agree with that? You like his top five, or you have some reservations?
Yeah, I mean, aside from Simon Nemec too, that's the only name that I would put in there, but I am intrigued with Matthew Savoie at number 2. I mean, I have him in my top 5. That's not to say that Savoie can't be number 2, given the fact that he is highly creative, energetic. Plays a bigger game than what his size dictates on the stat sheet. But a lot of the times it's mostly that's come up is his production at 5-on-5 versus power play. I believe he has 25 power play points, and that's more than his even strength production. But then again, I mean, he takes advantage of the power play. That's always a good thing too. He does produce at 5-on-5. It's just, I think maybe let's hold off on the production thing for now. In terms of quality and impact, he's a very dynamic player. So even if like he is in that 2 to 5 range, so worthy to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cooley at number 2, but just spoiler, I don't want to spoil my top 5. But yeah, I already said, I think I already said that I like Cooley at 2. So, but I mean, the rest of it, like I say, I think Nemec should be in that top 5 as well. But I'm sure he comes up later on. Andrew, who's your the rest of your top 10?
Well, number 6, we got Simon Nemec to please all you guys in the top 5 there. But Juraj Slafkovsky, number 7, Frank Nazar, number 8, Brad Lampert, number 9, and Connor Geekie, number 10 there.
Yeah, so Peter will go to you on the rest of his top 10. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Frank Nazar at number 8 right now, given the fact that he is very speedy, very crafty, quick hands. He's always, I remember seeing a highlight pack and he's just like the human highlight reel. And every single time that I saw him, he was doing something that just made my jaw drop even more. And what he's doing right now with the national development team is just absolutely amazing. Very, very, very creative, shifty. Some of them some other scouts are having him in the top 10, and it's very noteworthy or very deserving as well, because he is making a name for himself and overpassing names like Rucker McGroarty and Isaac Howard. And even Brad Lambert, too. I mean, given the fact that it was a short stint at the World Juniors, this was a tournament that he needed to have, and he was showcasing it right off the bat. So for him to still stick in that top 10 is really deserving as well.
Yeah. Greg, any other thoughts on top 10 there?
I agree with Peter with the Brad Lambert. I think he's one of those guys that, wasn't long ago we were talking about possibly number 1, top 3 pick, fell, but definitely that little bit we saw at the World Juniors raised his stakes a lot. He's a guy to watch. He could definitely climb into that top 5 before we get to draft day. I'm a huge fan of Slafkovsky, as we talked last week. I love that kid. If I could find a way to put him on my team, I would in a heartbeat. So yeah, it's pretty solid there. There's another little Russian player just outside that top 10. I may have popped up in there, but pretty solid there. Lambert, Slafkovsky, those are guys I think could definitely challenge for top 5 picks before we get to the draft.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, I think Lambert has he's got a lot more to give, I think. And, in the World Juniors, he kind of showed why. And I think he'll rebound and become I think he will be in the top 5 eventually. But I mean, there's so much talent in this draft. I mean, it's kind of hard to do, especially so early on here. But that leads us to my next question, Andrew. What other players of the first round do you have your eye on there? I mean, beyond the top 10, there's quite a bit more talent in this first round. Do you have anyone else you kind of want to highlight?
Yeah, Denton Matejchuk, left-handed defenseman out of Moose Jaw. I'm just a fan of his game. I think he plays a strong two-way game. He's a guy that obviously, left-handed defensemen are kind of, there's a dime a dozen, but when it comes to the way that he kind of plays to size, I think he plays a physical game. The way he gets into the grimy areas, can really drive the tempo of a game on the back end there. So I'm liking what he's doing as well. I'm a big fan of Bryce McConnell Barker, and I've seen him since he played. I think it's minor midget here in Ontario. We call it minor midget. So he plays a strong game. I call him a blue collar type of player where, he's going to play that physical edge, almost like a Jonathan Taves, but he doesn't mind, chipping in on the offense as well. So he's a guy that I definitely keep my eye on. I think, a lot of people had him a little higher going into this year, and he's kind of dropped off just a little bit, but his play's still been pretty consistent that he might be a good grab if somebody can get him, earlier mid second round there.
Yeah, I like Denton Matejchuk, and I think one of us highlighted him before in our early talk about the draft, and I really like him. So yeah, I definitely keep an eye on that guy going forward. Let's talk about predictions for your next rankings. Who do you think will rise up in the next few months before you release your next ones?
Rise up. One guy I know he's already in my top 10, but Brad Lambert, you guys kind of touched on him already. He's a guy that I'd keep my eye on because the World Juniors cut a little bit short. But I think he's playing with a little bit more confidence than he did, last year, and he's getting a few more opportunities. And I think that's going to drive people to take a second look at him and see that, maybe he's a guy that could possibly be, a real force when he cracks an NHL lineup. Another guy that I want to highlight as a possible climber is Callie Odelius out in Djurgården's junior J20 team. Another guy that has just played super well, left-handed defenseman. He's got size, 6 foot, 185, just playing really well out in the SHL, getting an opportunity as well, has 7 games there, but he's got 20 points in 26 games with the J20 national team. So he's a guy that I'd keep my eye on as well on the back end.
Yeah, Kelly Odelius. I think Peter has kind of mentioned him already.
Yes, big fan of his.
So. Yeah. Well, of course, there's guys that'll fall. When guys rise up, guys will fall. Who do you think will be a big? It's kind of hard to say. I don't like saying that some people are going to fall, but who do you think will?
I know I'm probably going to get a little bit of heck for this one, but David Juracek, and it's nothing against his game. I think he's going to fall simply because of the injury that he suffered at the World Juniors. Obviously a right-handed defenseman makes him a little bit more of a catch, but at the same time, you don't see him play. He kind of falls out of mind as well. So you could see him drop down a little further, maybe into the late first round, early second round, but he's still going to be quite the grab if he can get back healthy and play some hockey. I just think you're going to see guys that maybe get more opportunity, leapfrog him in the rankings, and that's only because of bad luck.
Yeah, it was unfortunate he got injured there, and he's going to be out for a bit. So, I mean, that always throws wrenches into prospects' development, especially when it's before the draft and they fall and then they get picked later on and then become really good in the NHL because of that. So, yeah, he could just fall just because of that, not because of his talent or anything like that. So, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, that's it. Andrew's rankings, and of course mine will be coming out shortly. I'm working on them right now, so stay tuned for my stuff later on. So thanks, Andrew, for going through those rankings and taking a bit of the criticism from our guys here. So
absolutely.
So this is of course the Prospects Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. If you enjoy the show, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button on this episode and take a look at all the other shows that are happening. We've got some great shows like Blackhawks Banter, Maple Leafs Lounge, Chicks and Sticks, list goes on, Grind Line, like that. So make sure you're checking that out. We've got breaking news, short videos coming out whenever news happens as well. And also take a look at the new Hockey Writers Rewind short video series we're starting here. First one's Dirtiest Players in the NHL. So take a look at that video. Voiced over by our own Patrick Brown, Grind Line, Howlers and Growlers. These are all over the place. So, and also sign up for our Morning Skate newsletter at morningskate.io. There's lots of great content every morning delivered to your inbox. So take a look at that as well. And of course, comment on anything you see on our rankings. Thanks for the comments on our last episode on Peter's rankings. Thanks for all that, those comments on, I think it was Shane Wright. There was a bit of talk on that comment board there. So after our rants. So yeah, let's continue the show. We're going to have some fun and do a first mock draft. Everyone loves mock drafts. It's this time of the year where we're not going to do a full one. That's coming. Both on the Hockey Writers and on the show, we'll do a full first round one. I promise we will. But we're going to start with a top 10 mock draft early on. Ran through the Tankathon simulator, and we got an order. And first overall pick went to the Arizona Coyotes. And we all know their struggles this season. I think they're for last in the NHL right now. So they actually got what's supposed to happen every year is the last place team should get the first overall pick, but the lottery always throws stuff off. So let's go with the first overall pick. And that after a random draw, Andrew, you got the first overall pick. You are the general manager of the Coyotes. Is a guy named Shane Wright your first overall pick? Well, let's see.
Well, I know the organization is in turmoil in terms of their picks, but Shane Wright from the Kingston Frontenacs will go number 1 to the Arizona Coyotes. He'll line up nicely with Matthews when they sign him after he's done with the Leafs. It's a solid pick to get him. Nice center. I know there's a lot of controversy about how he played at the 2 games they had at the World Juniors, and people are criticizing his play, but Shane Wright's definitely the number 1 pick for Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, we had some, of course, the talk about him not going first overall, but I think we already went through that. It's a bunch of nonsense. So first overall to the Arizona Coyotes, we'll see if that actually happens. So solid pick for the Coyotes as they rebuild with Dylan Guenther and guys like that. So that's a solid addition. Second overall pick is to the Buffalo Sabres. And I got that pick. And I am going, not just because I love this guy, but I think it's because the Buffalo Sabres need They lost Jack Eichel. They don't really have anyone center that could kind of be that superstar type guy. I'm going with Logan Cooley as second overall pick to the Buffalo Sabres. They should have picked a forward at this last draft, but Owen Power's doing a ridiculous. I mean, we already know what he did at the World Juniors. I think that pick's a little less. We all kind of said they shouldn't have gone for him first overall, but I think it's a pretty solid pick with what he's done. So, but Logan Cooley's going to really add that. He's a great two-way centerman. He's got not many weaknesses to his game. So, I mean, there may be some other guys that could go second overall, but I think they shouldn't go with a guy like Simon Nemec or anything like that. Cooley just has so much to his game that I think the Sabres need in their organization. So yeah, Logan Cooley to the Buffalo Sabres. Let's go third overall. Montreal Canadiens, who went to the Stanley Cup final, and now they're towards the end and the bottom of the league. Peter, you got the Montreal Canadiens third overall. You are the new GM of the team. Who are you choosing?
Wow, big shoes to fill right there. This goes without saying that they need some help on the back end. They don't have any viable right-hand shot defenseman. Shea Weber is gone, and you know where I'm probably going with this. I'm going to go with Simon Nemec. Just mainly because of the fact that he's got such great poise and confidence whenever he has the puck and he's in transition. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he executes everything properly. You have Caden Gooley on the left-hand side, and you have Simon Nemec on the right. There's a possible top pairing right there for the team in the future. Or if anything, Simon Nemec is still going to be in that top four, and same with Cooley, depending on the direction they decide to go or how well they develop. So you shore up that right-handed side, and he's got a really good, powerful shot from the point to go along with Gooley as well. So that's my pick for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, they definitely need some help down the line on the right side. So that's a great pick for the Montreal Canadiens there. Greg, Ottawa Senators, who are the fourth overall pick here, they're going to get another great prospect to add to their really great riches of prospects there. Greg, new GM of the Ottawa Senators. Who are you choosing?
And I really want to make an off-the-board kind of crazy pick that the Senators kind of are known for a little bit. They definitely could use. So they could definitely use some more defensive help. When you look at a lot of their prospect pool, they got a lot of talent up front. Yes, they have Jake Sanderson, but outside of that, their defensive prospect depth is not that great, but it might be stretching. The Canadiens just stole the guy that I thought would have been a perfect fit for them. But instead of reaching for a defenseman here at number 4, I'm going to go with Joakim Kemell from Finland and add him to that already pretty talented forward group of youngsters. So we'll get our defenseman later in the draft, I think.
Yeah, Kemmel's a talent. He's another one of those two-way type wingers, and it would have been nice to see him more at the World Juniors. But yeah, that's a great pick for the Ottawa Senators to add, of course, to their great pool of players already. Fifth overall pick. This is a team that, they have some heat of who they chose at the expansion draft, a new team, the Seattle Kraken, who have not really had a Vegas Golden Knights type season at all. So Seattle Kraken at the 5th overall pick, and it goes to Andrew here. Your dual duty as a general manager. You're the general manager of the Kraken now as well. Who are you choosing for the Kraken?
So I know I criticized the Sabres last year for taking defensemen as high as they did. And I know I just kind of talked about how this guy might fall a little bit, but I think right now, if you're Seattle, you've got a little bit of time to wait, time to see what you've got. So I think if you can add a right-handed defenseman like David Juricic at 5, that you're doing your job as a GM, you're doing your team a favor. And I think they go David Juricic and get an opportunity to kind of build this team. They've got Matty Beniers up front. They've got some young talent up front that they got in the expansion draft and signed. They have a goaltender in Grubauer. Now it's time to build that back end because Mark Giordano is not going to be there forever. So I would go David Juricic at 5.
Yeah, Juricic had kind of rose up there. I mean, he has been talked about in that top 5 range in some rankings, I believe. So, I mean, that's a good pick for the Kraken. I mean, like you said, they need to rebuild. I think Giordano's not even with the team past the deadline, personally. I mean, I think they're going to trade him. They definitely need some building blocks back there. I've got the Columbus Blue Jackets at number 6. This is a pick that they got two. They got 2 in this top 10. Spoiler alert. So, I mean, they're getting another. They got Kent Johnson last draft. They also, I mean, they just got some great talent up there. So I am going with, and they need center depth. This is something they need. They need a top line center after trading away Dubois and all that. So I am choosing Matthew Savoie for the Columbus Blue Jackets, really add to that group. I mean, Kent Johnson's been listed as a centerman, but I think he's more of a winger. So, I mean, Savoie is going to really add to that talent and that group. We've talked about, he's got a great shot. Could be a superstar centerman in the NHL. This is the guy that's been dominating the Winnipeg Ice. Really interesting why he wasn't invited to the World Juniors. So, I mean, definitely the Columbus Blue Jackets need that center. Mark's talked about it on Union Junction. They need centers, and they're probably going to be going for a guy like that in the first round. So they're first in the top 10 here. So Matthew Savoie. Next up is New York Islanders at 6th overall. I mean, this is a team that's they've dropped a bit as well after, making the playoffs surprisingly the last few years. I don't know if they're probably not going to make it this year. I mean, they have a lot of games in hand, a lot of teams, because they haven't played a lot, but you never know. So yeah, Peter, who are you picking for the New York Islanders at number 6?
Yeah, they took advantage drafting one Finn and they took advantage in drafting Aatu Räty in the second round last year without a first round pick. Everyone thought that even with the slide, he should have been a first. They're not going to let that happen again. They're going to take Brad Lambert, 7th overall, mainly because of his speed, his skill, his creativity, his offensive drive. He has that awareness that he always wants to make something happen. And it kind of fits the MO of what the Islanders want to be offensively, or with the way that they want to form their attack. I mean, it's going to be complimentary if at some point he gets to play alongside Matt Barzal. That's going to be a really great dynamic duo in the future if it does happen. But if it doesn't, they still got a really solid winger and even a centerman. He can play both positions. Again, size, awareness, the vision, the smarts. Just the production needs to come together. And then if all else, it's going to be a really great 7th overall pick for them.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, the Islanders, they got some good prospects as well. So we'll see what happens there. Philadelphia Flyers up at number 8. Greg, you're on the clock. Who are you picking for the Flyers? This is a team, again, thought they were going to do a lot better. I mean, they rebuilt their defense. Their forward group has some good pieces, but they got another top 10 pick here. Who are you choosing?
When I looked at their prospect pool and trying to figure out what their need is, they got some pretty good defensive guys on the way. Guys like York and Zamula, Andre, those are quality guys. So I don't think they need to go defense here at this top pick. You look at their current roster, they got a lot of aging guys up front. Claude Giroux is not going to be there forever. Look, some of the other veteran forwards, they need to get younger up front and talented. So they're going to take, or I will take for the Flyers, Juraj Slafkovský, my guy from Slovakia. Big, and Flyer fans will love him because he's a gigantic forward, can play physical. It's got a lot of talent, can do it all. I think they're going to get themselves a heck of a pick there at number 8.
Yeah, that's Slafkovsky is going to really add to that. I think he's a Flyers type pick too.
Yeah, he fits that old school mold, the big winger. Obviously I'm not going to make this comparison, but a fan base that absolutely adored Eric Lindros. He's got the size, could fill out to be that. Not saying he's got the same type of player, but they love their Broad Street bullies still out there in Philly. So if you get a big guy out there, he'll be a fan favorite. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the board. I think they definitely would consider that. Let's go New Jersey Devils at number 9. I mean, this is, again, a team that kind of rebuilt a bit in the offseason, got some defensemen. Dougie Hamilton was one of them. They got some great young talent. Dawson Mercer has been really impressive this year. So they've got some good pieces. Alexander Holtz is another one that is there. Who you got at number 9, Andrew, for the New Jersey Devils to add to that group?
If there's a goalie in the top 10, I'd throw a goalie their way, but they do have obviously Luke Hughes. They took last year. They've got guys like Chase Stillman coming up. They've got guys like Samu Salmonen coming up. They have, as you mentioned, Alexander Holtz. They've got Graham Clark. So they've got a lot of wing coverage. They've got some back end coverage. So I'm going to go Frank Nazar with the New Jersey pick. I think just adding that extra help up the middle. You can never have enough when it comes to center coverage. And what he's, as Peter mentioned earlier in the show, what he has to offer for this team certainly can push them over the edge in terms of building that pipeline and getting back to being a competitive team here in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, the New Jersey Devils are, again, they got some great prospects there. So I think they're going to be that rising team soon. I mean, they've had some moments this season, but and Jack Hughes is another guy. I didn't mention that he's really developing to that superstar that everyone thought for the first overall pick. So New Jersey's got a bright future. Christie's covering a great team there. So last but not least on the top 10 here, Columbus Blue Jackets get another pick. First round pick in the top 10. Peter, you've got the last pick of this top 10 here. Who are you choosing for the Blue Jacks for their second one here?
This is difficult because on one hand, I want to say Connor Geekie, but they already took Matt Savoy in the center that they have, and they already have Kent Johnson in the system as well. But on the other, I'm probably going to go with Danilo Yurov and shore up the wing position for them, given the fact that he is extremely he has a very smooth skating stride. He's very quick. Could go end to end in a flash. He's got great passing awareness, great hands as well. Could protect the puck extremely well in the corners and even drive to the front of the net. So he's kind of like a whole package speedy winger that you want to have. And yeah, I mean, this was a tough one because I really wanted to pick Geekie, but at the same time, Yurov is definitely a good way to end the top 10 selection for the Blue Jackets there.
Yeah, and there's our top 10. Like I said, we're going to do a full first round as we get going here, but just a kind of a sneak preview as a bit of a mock draft top 10. Thanks guys for taking part, having some fun. So let's do a bonus question. Since none of our teams that we cover were in this top 10, we're going to kind of look at that. So we'll start with Greg here with the Chicago Blackhawks. They picked an interesting guy last first round. Who do you think first, let's talk about who you think of a type of player they should be looking at and maybe a possible target at this point.
Well, it's tough to say because as of now, the Blackhawks don't have a first round pick.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's going to the Columbus Blue Jackets from that Seth Jones trade last year, unless the Hawks get the first a lottery pick. Then it moves to next year. But at this point, I don't want to lose a possible 2023 first round pick. Here's my problem is that the Hawks still don't even have a GM right now, and they're not even looking at this point. I don't know what in the F they're doing right now. It's beyond frustrating. So hopefully they have an actual general manager by the time the draft comes. That would be really cool. And hopefully it's a guy that has an idea of what he wants to do. I'm hoping somehow they can get back in the first round. Maybe a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury can get you a first round pick back at the deadline, depending on how desperate somebody is for a goalie who's looking for a Stanley Cup run. Hello, Edmonton Oilers, give us a call. An injury could happen to a top contender, and all of a sudden they're willing to part with a first round pick for Fleury. Right now, if I'm GM of the Blackhawks, nobody is untouchable. I'm taking calls on every single guy on this roster. I don't care. Hey, you want to give me a whole lot for Alex DeBrincat? I'll at least listen. I'm not saying I'm going to make that trade, but I'm going to listen to every offer right now because the Hawks have no future right now, and they need as many dynamic prospects as they can get. So I'm not going to target a specific guy, not knowing if or where they'll pick, but they got to get difference makers. They've got a system full of guys. Bottom six role-playing, grindy guys, third-pairing defensemen. They don't have, outside of a guy I'll talk about here, spoiler alert, in a few minutes, they don't have any exciting difference-making players. When you look at like the Red Wings or the Wild or the three teams out in California, they got just all kinds of talented young kids, either already making their debuts or will be soon. The Hawks don't have any of those guys. The Hawks have no disrespect to these guys, but they have Morgan Entwistle and Josiah Slavin. I mean, these are fourth line guys on a good team. They're not different. They're not going to put the Blackhawks in contention. So they need guys like that. They need dynamic, talented players, and they need to just start stockpiling draft picks. Get as many, do what the Arizona Coyotes are doing. They got 8 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. I mean, that's what you got to do. Right now, the Coyotes are in a better shape than the Blackhawks are. It's not even close as far as who's going to be better in 3 or 4 years. So start stockpiling draft picks, whoever you are, imaginary yet to be named Blackhawks GM.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I kind of slipped my mind the Blackhawks didn't have a first round pick, but
don't worry, I'll remind you.
They definitely should try to get it back in there. Peter, will go to you on the Maple Leafs. Andrew, you're also Maple Leafs as well, unless you want to pick a different team you want to focus on. It's okay to go with both because probably have some different opinions. Peter, who do you have kind of a category of player they should be looking at in the first round? First of all, I'm going to say this before, keep your first round pick. So I'll say that before we start. Who do you have?
Depending if the right move comes along, if they need to upgrade their top 4 and they need to move a first and a top prospect, so be it. But in this hypothetical scenario, we do keep our first. Like you mentioned before, and even last week, I'm a big fan of Callie Adelius with his ability to be a really steady puck-moving defenseman, also be reliable in his own end. I've seen clips of him making long stretch outlet passes, and it literally reminds me that of Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren, the way that they're able to move the play up quickly. And even someone like Kevin Kurchinski, who's got really great mobility and is looking really good in the WHL for the Seattle Thunderbirds right now. I've been really impressed with him, where he was outside of my first round previously. But the way that he's playing right now, and the more that I see him, he looks like someone who could jump into the first round as a late, 25 to 32 pick, and that's going to be in the Maple Leafs wheelhouse. So those are 2 names on defense that I'm looking for. As for forwards, I'm probably going to leave that for Andrew if he has any forwards in mind, because at this point, they could go any route with that.
Yeah. Andrew, who do you have kind of the Maple Leafs looking at? Say they keep their first round pick, which I believe they should.
I think we were kind of on the same page there, Peter. I was going at Adelius as well, but you want me to go forwards? I'll go forwards. I think Philip Bysted's a good option late in the first round. Obviously, the Leafs will have a late first round pick because they're going to get past the first round this year.
I'm not betting on that.
But as I mentioned, like a guy that I would honestly keep my eye on is McConnell Barker. I think he's getting overlooked a little bit, and I think that's why he's fallen to the second round where he is. But he's a guy, like I said, I saw here in London play. He's got that gritty kind of sandpaper, game to him, and he's a guy that can be a big body in there as well. And I think if you can get him, either late in the first round or, like Peter said, move down and get yourself a top 4 pick, top 4 guy on the back end. Maybe he's a guy that you look at mid-second round as well if he's still on the board. But I do think that the Leafs need defense. You can never have enough on the back end, and that seems to be where the holes have been for the last 10 years for the blue and white. So if they can go with a defenseman and ensure up that back end pipeline, I think that's where they go, because at the end of the day, Dermott, Hall, and Muzzin are all expendable pieces on that back end, and Sandin and Liljegren will only fill 2 of those spots. So something to keep in mind when you're looking at that.
One thing about Bryce McConnell Barker, I've always viewed him as a 2-way sniper.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs need some more, they need more depth prospect wise. And going to the Canucks, I think this is another team they need to keep their first round pick because they've traded it away the last 2 drafts. They haven't had a first round pick since Vasily Podkolzin, who's working out pretty well on the Canucks right now. So they need to add. I mean, when I did my top 10, or I'm going to be doing a reworking of the top 10 of the prospects, it's kind of hard to do because there's no surefire NHLers there. I mean, Danila Klimovich is, I think, going to be a good piece, but I don't know if he's going to be top line guy. So I mean, they don't really have a lot. So where they will end up, I mean, what they're, if you talk to me about a month ago, I would say they're in the lottery picks, but they have won a lot of games since then. And Bruce Boudreau's got him on a high. So I think they're back in the playoff race. So they may end up being in the last bit of the draft in the first round, which they will keep because Rutherford is true to his word, I hope. So they will keep that first round pick. So I'm going for, I mean, it could go either way. They could go defense. They could go forward. For defense, I'm looking at a guy like, Chesley. They need right-hand shots. So Ryan Chesley, guys like that, Ty Nelson, there's some good right-hand defense. Another guy, Rutger McGordy, who I'm really high on. He's super creative. He could go in that range of that 20s, 25 range. He's a really high-end offensive player. But, I mean, the Canucks just need to add a first-round talent to their pool again because they really have no one. Podkolzin's now graduated as a prospect, so really there's no one there anymore. So they need something. They need some more talent. Keep your first-round pick. They don't have a second-round pick because they traded that away as well. So, I mean, Rutherford's got to stop. Like, they got it like the Chicago Blackhawks. They need to stockpile not just first-rounders, which, I mean, they probably won't do that because they'd have to trade away significant pieces to do that. But they need to get some more draft picks. And so, yeah, guys like that, anyone for a first-round pick that could add to the right-hand defense or up front in the top 6. So that's for the Canucks there. Let's finish the show with the prospects of the week as we do every episode. Andrew, you can join in on this one. This is just a prospect that we kind of want to highlight, doing well, whatever. I mean, just a guy we want to let everyone know about. Andrew, since you're our guest, or hopefully more often in the next few weeks here as we get up to the draft. Andrew, you can go first. Who's your prospect of the week you kind of want to highlight?
I'm going to go with very nice Matthew Nice. I think what he's been able to do, obviously, possibly getting an opportunity to play for the U.S. at the Olympics, 12 points in his last 10 games, 4 in his last 5. He's playing so well for the University of Minnesota in the NCAA, 18 points in 19 games. So obviously I'm going to go Leaf centric here and focus on him because I think he was an underrated pick for the Leafs last year, and he's showing them exactly why they made a great selection in taking him.
Yeah, that pick has been really good. I mean, I think he probably could have been a late first round pick. So I mean, to get him in the second round was amazing. So we'll go to you, Greg. Who's your prospect of the week right now?
I'm going to stick with the Blackhawks and mention the one guy that we really have to be excited about, and that's Lukas Reichel. Was out in Rockford last night. Saw the Ice Hogs beat the Chicago Wolves 8-0 last night, with Reichel getting 2 goals and 4 points. It was his best game he's played in his pro career by far. He was just electric, just all over the ice. He could have easily had 3 or 4 more goals. I mean, that's how good he played. And the Hawks really needed to see that. He was in concussion protocol, missed a few games in November, early December, took a nasty hit while he was already falling down. So he missed about 2 weeks there with concussion, and then he tested positive for COVID, and the Ice Hogs, last night was their first game since December 21st. So off the long layoff, they traded away Alex Nylander, who was his line mate and who they've been performing well. And then he comes out and he just dominates against one of the best teams in the AHL. The Wolves came in on a 12-game winning streak, and they just I mean, yeah, they were playing a goalie they signed from the ECHL that morning, but still, they just dominated that game. The Wolves have only lost 5 games in regulation all season. 3 of those 5 losses have come to Lukas Reichel and the Ice Hawks, so he's definitely got their number. A really good performance from him. That's exactly what the Hawks fans wanted to see. A lot of Hawks fans want him up in the NHL as quickly as possible, and I get it, but let's take our time. There's no reason to put him up there right now, and let him dominate in the AHL, get some confidence, and we'll worry about him later in the season.
Yeah, I like Lukas Reichel. He's going to be a really good player in the NHL when he gets there. So yeah, take your time, because you don't need to rush anyone right now. Peter, who you got for your prospect of the week?
Yeah, no lease pick and no OHL players this week. I'm going to the WHL, and I'm going to pick Jagger Firkus from the my computer's slow. Moose Jaw Warriors. Sorry about that. I mean, he may not look like a first or second round pick, but he sure does play like one, and he's probably going to get a lot of consideration in the 3rd round for the draft this year. Has goals in 6 of his last 7 games, and has scored 8 total in that span. Just absolutely insane at the production that he's doing, including a hat trick back in December. Despite the size, it doesn't seem to affect his play at all. He's still finding ways to score, to get into the open ice in the middle. He has a dynamic shot. I've just been increasingly growing to love this kid play, and he's definitely someone that's going to be possibly in my next rankings. Could crack the top 64. I don't know, but he's looking pretty good as a prospect right now.
Yeah, that's a name that definitely keep your ears out and your eyes out for as we go forward here. I'm going back to I am going to be biased and go to a Canucks prospect. I have mentioned him before, but bears mentioning again because he's getting talk about possibly getting invited to the Team USA Olympics, which is awesome for a 7th round pick. This is Aidan McDonough, ripping it up for Northeastern right now. Hasn't played in a while, so probably because, I mean, COVID's kind of ravaging everywhere. But he has got 13 goals in 18 games for Northeastern this year. So, I mean, he's getting some love from Team USA. And so that'd be awesome for him to make the Olympics as a 7th round pick. I mean, he would definitely never get there if there was NHLers going, but this guy's been really impressive in the NCAA as a 7th round pick to the Canucks. So, I mean, really happy for him to get that recognition. I don't know if he's going to go. We'll see what happens. But, I mentioned before, he's got a great shot, great on the power play. He's been leading Northeastern in scoring and goals. He has an A on his chest as well. So, I mean, he's been impressive. So I'm very excited to see what he can do for the Canucks next year, or in the AHL at least. So to have him playing the Olympics, that'd be amazing. So that's Aidan McDonough for me, for my prospect of the week. Yeah, so there's prospects of the week. That's our show, guys. Thanks, Andrew, for joining the show again. It was great to have you back. Kind of we're missing our foursome here, so it was great to have that back, and we're definitely going to have you on again because as our rankings keep getting released, we'll be doing more mock drafts. So lots of fun coming up. Starting our draft coverage a little earlier this season because of the World Juniors getting unfortunately canceled or postponed. So, I mean, it's, but we have the draft to look forward to, and we'll be getting we're working on profiles. Profiles will be coming out around the trade deadline-ish, probably after the trade deadline. You'll start seeing them trickle out. And so definitely look forward to our draft coverage. Take a look at everything else on the Hockey Writers. Make sure you're hitting subscribe on our YouTube channel. Hit the like button on this video and the other videos we have on the channel as well. Sign up for Morning Skate newsletter. Lots of great content on the Hockey Writers as we move through a spotty NHL play. I mean, there's so much games being postponed, so much stuff now. The Olympics getting, no NHL is going to the Olympics, but we will have, this is something else. We're going to have a lot of Olympic coverage headed up by Greg where it's going to be Olympic coverage. So don't worry, we will have coverage of the Olympics. There just won't be NHLers, but we will have extensive looks at all the teams, all the rosters. So definitely take a look and keep your eyes out for that as well. So yeah, that's the prospect score for this week. We'll see you next week, and lots more prospect discussion to come. So see you later.